What's going on, Facebook? Today's video is all about ALCs and giving you the best controller settings for Apex Legends. I did an old video on this quite a while ago now, and it's very outdated. And to be honest, I've refined those settings. So I'm going to have a 30-second to 1-minute window at the very start of this video where I'm just going quickly over the number values. And if you want to just watch that part of the video and set your settings to that and then go from there, adjust them as you need, that's perfectly fine. If you do that and you like those settings, hit the like button or leave a comment. It helps me out a lot. However, if you want a bit more detail on what each setting means, stick around and I'm going to go through everything right now. To start off with, you want to have your movement dead zone on small and you want to have vibration off. Trust me, turn your vibration off. Dead zone 3%, outer threshold 2%, response curve, if you want it to be less sensitive, move it up. If you want it to be more sensitive, move it down. Per optic settings, these are my settings: 1.2, 1.4, 1.4, 1.0, 1.0, 0.8, and 0.6. Yaw speed, I have 310. Pitch speed, 220. Turning extra yaw, 70. Turning extra pitch, 0. Turning ramp up time, 0. Turning ramp up delay, 0. ADS yaw speed is 130, and ADS pitch speed is 130. ADS turning extra yaw is 0, ADS turning extra pitch is 0, ADS turning ramp up time is 0%, and ADS turning ramp up delay is 0%. Target compensation on and melee compensation on. So if you just stuck around for that first bit of the video, thank you so much for sticking around. Hit that like button. And for those that want a bit more detail on each of the settings, I'm gonna go over them right now. So dead zone, there's a dead zone where your joystick won't do anything. So if you set this value up a lot, as you can see in that little image there, see that blue circle? That blue circle is indicating the dead zone. So if you move your joystick from the center of where it is to that the edge of the blue circle, nothing's going to happen. Your character's not going to move. So the lower the dead zone, the better. But most people have a bit of stick drift. So usually most people have it up to about 3%. So if you have stick drift, increasing your dead zone may get rid of that stick drift for you. Outer threshold, you want this to be low because you want to have the most range of movement you can with a joystick. So you can shrink the outer threshold here to make it smaller. And all that means is your maximum input on your joystick, you're not going to have to go all the way to the very edge of the controller. So I don't like doing that. I like to have full range of motion. It feels like it gives me more control. So that's why I keep it down on the default setting of 2%. Response curve. So if you want linear, which I recommend people need to practice linear and get better with it, you want to have between 0 and 3. However, a lot of people, you're going to find your comfort zone around 8 to 12. I don't recommend going above and I don't recommend going below unless you're really willing to commit to learning linear. And you'll understand when you put it on linear, anywhere between 0 and 3, you're going to understand instantly that that's linear and why I said you're going to have to put the time into practice. And linear is going to make it look like you have stick drift, but you don't. That's just how linear works. Per optic settings, I've got them all here. Feel free to take a screenshot. I'm not going to go through these again. Your speed. So this is how quickly you turn left or right. I have this on 310. I find that this is amazing. I used to have it higher, but I've lowered it and I've fine-tuned it. This is perfect. This helps me just stay on target. It helps me with moving. It helps me loot fast as well. The only time I ever find a little bit of an issue is if I'm not warmed up and I'm in a very close quarter fight, my hip fire kind of slides a little bit because it is quite a high sensitivity. But trust me, get used to it. It's great. If you don't want to have 310, I recommend maybe around 270. But like I said at the start of the video, just use this as a base and then you need to move things up or down to tailor to your playstyle. Pitch speed, 220. A lot of people like to have these the same, but I don't. To me, you have more encounters and more fights in the left or right sense than you do up and down. Yes, there is some verticality, but when you're fighting people, they're not moving up and down all the time. They usually move up once and then they land on a roof, or they jump down once and then they're on the ground and then you're having left to right fights. So I don't think it's as important to have this as high to be able to move fast because there isn't that much fights where you're literally having to go up and down for ages like you do when people are strafing left to right. So pitch speed, which is how fast you look up and down, I have that on 220. Feel free to have that on the same as your yaw speed. Turning extra yaw. This is completely optional. Turning extra yaw is basically a boost to what your normal yaw speed is when you push your joystick all the way to the side. So that outer threshold that we were talking about earlier, this is where this comes into play. So when I push my joystick and it touches the side of my controller, that's when my extra yaw is going to kick in. So basically my yaw speed will then be turned into 380 because it adds the extra yaw to your yaw, but only when my joystick goes all the way to either side of my controller, either left or right for this one. And for extra pitch, I don't want any extra up or down movement, so I keep that on 0. Feel free to keep this off, but this helps when I'm looting. This is where the looting side of things comes into place, because when I'm looting, I jam my joystick left and right to the side of the placement that it's in, to the side of the controller that it's in. I jam it left and right really hard, and it makes me loot really fast because I have that extra speed. And that's what I was saying about the hipfire. Sometimes if you don't have good control over your joystick, if you have your yaw quite high and then you have extra yaw as well, you may find some troubles when you're in those close quarter hipfire fights. If you do, just turn extra yaw off and just loot a little bit slower. Have 0 for these because you don't want to have a ramp up time and you don't want to have a delay. You just want it to go straight to your extra yaw if you're using it, and then you want it to be instantly off once you've stopped using it. It's kind of like giving you an extra setting. If you touch the side of your controller with your joystick, you're going to have a 380 sensitivity. If you don't, if you just push it halfway or 3/4, you're only going to have a 310 sensitivity. So it gives me 2 options, and it gives me more control over my gameplay. ADS yaw speed, I have this on 130. People might think that's quite low, but trust me, this is the main part of the video for you improving your aim. If you're watching this video to improve your aim, chuck these down to 130. I'm telling you, chuck them to 130. You are gonna be beaming people so much more. You're gonna have so much more control over your aiming, and your accuracy is going to improve tenfold. 130 and 130. If you want, you can lower the pitch speed down, but I keep them the same with ADS, just so I have that very universal control while I'm aiming, which is not so prevalent when you're not aiming when you're running around, which is why I have these slightly lower. Extra yaw and extra pitch, I have none of these on ADS because you want to have that steady control. You don't want it to be speeding up while you're aiming. You just want to have straight up raw input. Exactly what you've got it set is exactly what it's going to be, no matter where your joystick's sitting. All right, it's very different to hip firing and looting and stuff, because when you're not aiming, you are looting as well as hip firing. There's multiple things you're doing, so you want to have multiple setting options with that extra speed and the normal speed. Whereas when you're aiming, all you're doing is aiming to shoot people. So you don't want to have 2 different options. You don't want it to go up faster or slower depending on how far you push the joystick. You want it to be exactly the same. And because we have these on 0, you put these ramp up time and delays on 0% as well. Target compensation, aim assist, I recommend having it on. Feel free to turn it off, give it a go. It's quite fun, but it's also a bit annoying. And melee compensation, keep this one on, because melees are so hard right now with the new update, which is a good thing, but yeah, keep that on. And you can change this to PC settings, which I highly recommend. I have a feeling that they are going to change the aim assist values when the next gen upgrade comes out, either at the end of this year or the start of next year. So if you want to jump the gun and get ahead of that update, turn it to PC now. Otherwise, just keep it on default, which is what I keep it on. But yeah, that is it for the ALCs. Thank you so much for tuning in. Like I said at the start of the video, do these settings and then adjust them as you need. If you're hip firing too fast or you're missing, go and turn your yaw down. If you feel like all the sensitivities are too high, turn them down a little bit. Just keep the ratios exactly the same. And what I mean by that is, if you are lowering your yaw speed, see how it's on 310 and then we have 220 for pitch. If you lower your yaw speed 3 bars, lower your pitch speed 4 or 5 bars. Just keep it that nice ratio where it's about 75% of your yaw speed is your pitch speed. So hit the like button. Let me know if this video helped. Stick with these settings for a little while. Don't just do it for an hour, 2 hours. Stick with them for about a week. And trust me, you're going to be beaming a lot more. I promise you these settings are really good. Only thing you will need to do is change those basic hip fires, the yaw and pitch. You'll either have to lower them or increase them for your playstyle. But this is a very good template to start with. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. Let me know if you want to see any more tutorials like this. I don't know what else we could do, but if you have any ideas, leave them in the comments and I'll see you in the next one.